Well, wonderful. A tremendous presentation, a tremendous depiction of the reality of the death of Jesus Christ, and also a wonderful celebration of his resurrection. Let's head for the drama ministry one more time. The events we commemorate on Good Friday has many lessons that are applicable to us today. I know coming down here, I saw a bubbly with the face of one of our government ministers on it. As a child, we used to talk about beating Judas. And the focus sometimes was on the betrayal of Christ by Judas. And there's the kind of indication that it was the worst day in history. But today I want to address one of the issues or the lessons that we can learn about Jesus and the fact that he was touched by human frailties. According to Hebrews chapter 4, verse 15, Jesus is the high priest who is touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. Though without sin, he was tempted in all points as we are, and touched not by, but touched with the feelings, with the experiences of our infirmities, our susceptibilities, our weaknesses and feebleness. So he does not sympathize with us. He empathizes with us. And my question to us this evening is, did Jesus ever fall? Hebrews chapter 2, verse 6 to 8 says, who existing in the form of God did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, but emptied himself, taking the form of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient to death, even the death on a cross. He emptied himself, taking the form of a servant, being made in human likeness. Jesus, while on earth, was not God pretending to be man, but he was God who became man. He was therefore liable to all our human experiences, which he endured without succumbing to sin. The night before he died, he was extremely sorrowful and deeply distressed because he was facing the inevitable that seemed impossible and the unavoidable that seemed unimaginable. I don't know if you have ever been in a place like that, but Jesus has been. Some people face such situations when there is shocking, distressing news from your doctor about a diagnosis of having a fatal illness, or the sudden loss of a job, or the end of a relationship in which you have invested much of your life. These shocking inevitabilities can throw us into a panic which makes discerning God's will very difficult. Why did this have to happen? Why did he have to die? Why do I have to suffer? Why am I inflicted with this disease? Sometimes it's very difficult to trace God's hand and to determine and discern God's will. Jesus, he brought along 3 friends to accompany him and to perhaps give him some emotional support. But they fell asleep on the job. He expressed to them his soul was deeply grieved to the point of death. And on 3 occasions, he found them sleeping when he had asked them to watch with him. You know, sometimes as we go through our ordeals, the best intentions of our closest friends are woefully inadequate. Jesus prayed several times, asking if the suffering could be avoided, but only if it was God's will. However, despite his appeals, it was not to be. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling on the ground. And that's the depth of sorrow he found himself in. Is there any sorrow that you feel today that you think Jesus could not be touched by? However, he took his plight to the Father in a night of intense prayer. And an angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. When he arose from prayer, he went back to his disciples, and he found them again asleep, exhausted from sorrow. Why are you sleeping? He asked them. Get up and pray so that you will not fall into temptation, he said. And he was restored through prayer and strength from heaven. And that enabled him to face the inevitable. In our moments of weakness, we can be made strong. The Apostle Paul said in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, he says, a thorn in the flesh was given to me, a messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I be exalted above measure. Concerning this thing, I pleaded with the Lord 3 times that it might depart from me. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. At the Garden of Gethsemane, in weakness, Jesus was made strong by intense prayer and a heavenly encounter. He was so distressed that he hoped he could have avoided the cross. Were you ever in a place where you wish you didn't have to face something that was before you? Where you wish that certain distressing events could be avoided? Jesus was there. However, with renewed strength, he was willing to finish the course. Another low moment in the life of Jesus on earth was on his way to Golgotha. In Luke chapter 23, verse 26, as the soldiers led Jesus away, they grabbed a man named Simon, who was from the city of Cyrene. Now, Simon was coming into Jerusalem. They laid the cross on him, and they made him carry it behind Jesus. Now, why was Simon compelled to carry the cross? The centurion in our skit explained why. Why was he called to carry the cross? Why was he compelled to carry the cross? Was it that Jesus fell or stumbled along the way? Was it that he was so evidently weak from the long, arduous journey of beatings and ridicule after a sleepless night that he was liable to collapse or even die before being crucified? Sometimes in life, even after receiving heavenly strength for our souls, we still need human support in carrying our burdens and finishing our course. The soldier couldn't risk the chance of Jesus not making it to Golgotha. So they immediately recruited help. And yes, we may be called to an individual destiny, but we do not have to journey it alone. Sometimes human help comes from the most unexpected places. Here's a situation where his close friends and confidants, who could not even stay awake with him during his personal ordeal, were not at his side as he faced public ridicule. Have you ever felt alone in your despair? Incapable to cope, with no help in sight? You look around and there is no familiar face. All those you served and you invested your time and energy in are nowhere to be found. Well, Jesus has been there. No, you're not alone in your experience. 1 Corinthians 10:13 says, there isn't any temptation that you have experienced which is unusual for humans. God, who is faithful, keeps his promises. And he will not allow you to be tempted beyond your power to resist. But when you are tempted, He will also give you the ability to endure the temptation as your way of escape. God provided support from Simon of Cyrene. Cyrene was an ancient Greek city on the North African coast, a town located in the northeastern Libya. So this North African man traveled almost 1,000 miles, perhaps like many in that jammed city, to celebrate the Passover. He never expected or imagined that the pilgrimage he did that time will result in his being compelled to follow Jesus carrying a cross. It reminds me of Jesus saying some time before that if you are to be his disciples, you must deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow him. This man, Simon, never knew that a cross was waiting for him to bear. But he was able to bear it because he was following Jesus. And sometimes we are called upon to carry a cross at the most unexpected moments. But if we do so following Jesus, we will fulfill destiny. Because perhaps Jesus might have died in the road and not on the cross. Jesus may have stumbled and fell on his way to fulfilling his destiny, but he had to get up and finish the course. Just as you heard in the skit, the determination of the soldier to stay the course, his commitment to finish the job. Jesus was committed to finish the job in spite of the distress, in spite of the burden, in spite of the beatings and the battlings, in spite of stumbling and perhaps even falling along the way. He had to get up and finish the course. Just as the night before, he could not allow himself to give in to his feelings of deep anguish and distress. And now going through the ordeal, weighed down by the circumstances, struggling and stumbling, he had to get up and finish the course. And you may think you reached the end of the rope and you could no longer go on. Don't give up. Don't give in. Persevere to the end. I don't know what you're facing, but Jesus knows. And he's touched with the feelings of our infirmities. Jesus got up when he fell, and he accepted the help of others. He didn't say, Simon, don't worry about me. This burden is mine alone to bear. Many times, we condemn men when they stumble or fall. But God gives us an opportunity to rise again and to continue our course, even with help. The Apostle Paul was a man who killed Christians. He thought he was doing right, but he was sincerely wrong. He persecuted the church. And Jesus stopped him in his tracks, knocked him off his high horse, blinded him and says, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? Why do you kick against the pricks? But Jesus didn't condemn him. He caused him to rise again and to focus to the right course. And with the assistance of an old man who will touch him and heal him of his blindness and lead him into the faith. With the assistance of Barnabas who will mentor him and cause him to be accepted into the apostleship. He finished his course and fulfilled his destiny to be an apostle to the Gentiles. God doesn't condemn you to damnation because you stumble and fall. He gives you a chance to rise again. He gives you a chance, even with the heavenly help and earthly support, to finish your course. Jesus received heavenly strength and earthly support in going through his ordeal. Galatians 6:1-9, the Apostle Paul says, brothers and sisters, if a person gets trapped by wrongdoing, those of you who are spiritual should help that person turn away from doing wrong. Do it in a gentle way. At the same time, watch yourself so that you also are not tempted. Help carry each other's burdens. In this way, you will follow Christ's teachings. So if any one of you thinks you are important when you're really not, you're only fooling yourself. Each of you must examine your own actions. And then you can be proud of your accomplishments without comparing yourself to others. Assume your own responsibility. The person who is taught God's word should share all good things with his teacher. Make no mistake about this. You can never make a fool of God. Whatever you plant is what you will harvest. If you plant in the soil of your corrupt nature, you will harvest destruction. But if you plant in the soil of your spiritual nature, you will harvest everlasting life. We can't allow ourselves to get tired of living the right way. Certainly, each of us receive everlasting life at the proper time if we don't give up. Jesus knows what it is to be weak and burdened, in need of heavenly and earthly support. And that's why we should accept his invitation, which he's fully qualified to issue. He says, "Come to me, all you who are tired from carrying heavy loads, and I'll give you rest. Place my yoke over your shoulders and learn of me, because I'm gentle and humble, and then you will find rest for your souls." And that's one of the lessons we can learn about what we call the Good Friday experience. Let's stand. Ask the musicians and the worship team to come. Even as we're standing here and our service is not over, we have one special guest who's yet to minister. I want us to reflect on our own lives, and I want us to know that regardless of the burdens we carry, the crosses we bear, the pains we experience, the disappointments we go through, the hurts, even hurts caused by choices that we ourselves made, the times that we have fallen, the times that we have stumbled, the times that we have failed. I want you to know that we have a high priest who is touched with the feelings of our infirmities, who have been there, who have borne those burdens on our behalf. And his invitation to us today is, you don't have to carry this pain alone. You can draw near to me, and I will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. Just shut yourselves in a little bit and communicate with your Father. Lay your burdens at his feet. Cast your care upon him, because I tell you, he cares for you. In spite of the circumstance that is beyond your control, it's not beyond his control. And he will not allow you to be challenged more than he will enable you to bear. He's going to give you what it takes to deal with the situation, to get up from your falling and your stumbling, and to finish your course, because the race is not for the swift, but for he who endures to the end. Even with our heads bowed and eyes closed, I know that this place is filled with a lot of believers, but there may be somebody here this evening who will say, "Pastor Mark, I want to really respond to what Jesus has done for me on the cross by committing my life to him and laying all my burdens on him so that he can carry me. He carried the weight of the world upon his shoulders. I have the confidence tonight that he can carry me too. Because of that, I want to surrender my life to him." If that's your prayer, just lift your hand right where you are, and I will pray for you.